My name is Alex. I am a trust technique practitioner. I wanted to make a little video describing what the trust technique is and talking a bit about its history, talking about the principles, and what a consultation with me would look like and why. I'm also going to talk a little bit about the kind of bigger aspirations that the trust technique has. So, first of all, what is the trust technique? It's a therapeutic practice that supports the relationship between humans and animals. The way it does that is by reducing thinking levels, and by doing that, you create a different environment where new things are possible. One of the foundations of the trust technique, and one of the things that makes it different from other methods, is that it's looking at the relationship and it acknowledges the relationship and the effect that that has between animal and human. It doesn't consider the animal to be a problem that needs fixing. It's all about connection and the power of trust, patience, presence, persistence, and peace. The history of the trust technique, it was founded by James French and Shelley Slingo, developed by them. James grew up in a really difficult environment where there wasn't really any human support, and so he would spend time with the animals, and they showed him how to be peaceful, which was pretty much a life-saving and life-changing experience. And in creating that peaceful space, they kind of inspired him, and he took that awareness into his adult life and into his work and relationships with horses. When he met Shelley, they were both using Reiki, working with animals. And James started to notice that Reiki was affecting the human beings as well as the animals, that they were getting kind of sleepy and peaceful. And again, he was using animal communication and noticing that that was also having an effect on the human being. And he started to see that the combination of being really peaceful and listening really with your feelings in your heart from an intuitive place was really powerful. And I think developing that was quite a complex process. But what they've done over the years is they've simplified it into a really simple and effective technique that is accessible today for anyone who's ready to do it or willing to do it. The second thing to talk about is the three main principles. These are creative reaction, realization learning, and trusted cooperation. Creative reaction is the central principle, and it's the place where we start. It sort of underlies all the other two. It's a combination of two practices. One is delivering a powerful peace of mind, a peaceful present moment, and the other one is mindful regard, or listening in a particular way, and I'll say more about that in a minute. The present moment involves a simple 3-point meditation technique. The human will deliver this, and what that does is it reduces their thinking level, the humans, and in doing that, it creates a really peaceful space and environment. Now, because humans and animals share feelings, which is a really key part of how the trust technique organises around that reality, our animals will start to experience the peaceful feeling of the human being, and it will cause a response from the animal. Either they'll receive the feeling and they'll start to reduce their thinking levels and become sleepy, Or if they're not peaceful, they will start to express their unpeace. And when that happens, what we do is we do the second part of creative reaction, which is mindful regard, and we listen. We say, oh, you're not peaceful. And we carefully go at the animal's pace. So we would stop being peaceful and we would come into a state of listening if the animal showed us that they were having a difficult time. The way that we listen to animals is by being very curious, and we're watching their movements, and we're noticing their expressions. And when they've finished expressing and their thinking's come back to where it was before, we would get present again and create that peaceful meditation space again. By doing that, what we're saying is it matters how you feel. Your expression is okay. We're not trying to shut them down. We're just going at their pace and we're really listening. And animals they're very sensitive to our feelings, and they're very sensitive to sound, and they're very sensitive beings. And they are often not listened to. And we often don't listen to our own selves, and we go too fast for ourselves. So we're really often going too fast for the animal. So the trust technique's really different because it slows everything down. And then you start to be able to understand at a deeper level what's happening, and then you can really address it. And when you create peace for another being, there's a real trust and confidence that grows in the relationship when that happens. It's really deeply felt. And the other thing is that by doing that practice of peace, learning to be peaceful yourself and learning that simple technique, you're also reducing your thinking levels and you get to feel more peaceful. And when your body and your biology is peaceful and your spirit's peaceful and you're in that space where you're not super high thinking and having very strong feelings, a lot of healing can happen and a lot of release of tension from the body. So that has a really profound impact over time. It can have a profound impact very quickly, but when you practice it over time, it really does have a very deep and lasting impact. So essentially, we're communicating to the animal when we practice creative reaction, we're communicating, you can be peaceful. I'm here to take responsibility for creating a peaceful state, a peaceful environment, and showing you how to be peaceful. And what that does is it breaks the cycle. So instead of you responding to your animal's stressful behavior with more stress, or your animal responding to your stressful behavior with more stress, we break the cycle. We take responsibility for creating a different atmosphere, and then something else can happen. It means you can be much more supportive in challenging situations because you're not in your own distress. You can really see what's happening and respond to it from a creative place. Which brings us to the second principle of realization learning. Realization learning takes that bond of peace and trust that you've created with creative reaction and supports person and animal to work with specific issues that are arising. So this is something you can apply to your day-to-day life and any problems. So for example, if an animal has a fear of other dogs, their human can use creative reaction to help bring the animal's mind down, bring that thinking level right down. And in that more peaceful and relaxed state, the animal can see what's happening in the present from a calm state of mind. So instead of assuming that it's going to be the same as the last dog, they can actually look and read the signals. So their mind, over time, their mind changes. It's not dog danger, it becomes dog, pause, actual assessment of the situation. I'm experiencing peace, I'm experiencing support, I'm feeling trusting, and there's a very different way. From that place, you see a situation very differently. So when we bring the animal's mind down into a more peaceful state, they don't have to look at the situation through the past worry. And we all know that when we're in that fearful state, it can be very hard to concentrate on anything that's actually happening and see the present as it truly is. The great thing about realization learning is that you can use it after an event, so that if at the time something happens and it's too urgent or too intense, you can still use this technique afterwards, and it will still help the animal's mind come down, and then they won't store all that worry in their body, so that next time they've got even more stress and more thinking about the situation. And you can also let it out of your mind and rebuild your confidence and their confidence. So it helps you let go of all these difficult feelings. You don't just have to bottle it up. So another example is I use it with my dog, who's quite young, and she gets startled by unknown things. So I can use that present moment to calm her mind down. And if she's still unpeaceful, I can go, oh yes, you're a bit worried, so we can move back a little bit, and then I can get her mind calmer. And then when she's calm, she'll want to go forwards towards the new thing anyway. So I help her to release that tension out of her body and that fear, and then she can come at her own pace closer to this object, and she can find her curiosity again and her confidence. And it turns out when she gets close, the thing's actually fine. It's just new. So that's another example. And you can use that same principle with a historical problem. And it's a gift, because your animal then starts to look to you for support and for confidence and for guidance when they're having a difficult time. And they're learning from the inside out. Their brain is actually changing and their body's actually relaxed. Oh, maybe this thing I thought was so terrible isn't so terrible. And that's really different than being distracted or rewarded or staying at the same level of stress, but just like having a treat on your nose that's kind of pulling you into a slightly different excitement. There's nothing wrong with that, to use training and so on, but this is a deeper and more lasting practice, and you can use them to complement each other. And you're not having to avoid situations anymore, because it doesn't matter if there's a reaction, you can still work with it afterwards. And then, if you go at their pace, you can teach them, okay, what happened in the past is not the same as what's going to happen now. And you can also teach yourself that, because a lot of the time it's us that gets stuck on something. The dog has a difficult time with one dog, and then next time we're like, oh no. So we put tension on the lead, and then the dog goes, I knew it. There's something to be worried about. And so this just breaks that cycle. And it's really empowering in that way. And you show them, I'm okay, so you can be okay too. So that's realization learning, which also adds to a huge level of trust between person and their animal. also means we can enjoy things like going for a walk with our dogs and having people around to our houses, and things that with certain situations can become points of stress, and we can help our dogs to enjoy being friends with other dogs or enjoy a game or things that they might not get if they're stuck in stress and anxiety. The third principle is trusted cooperation, which takes creative reaction and realization learning and brings in gratitude. And we use trusted cooperation to work together with our animal to do a mutually beneficial action. Now, that action might look like giving care or support to your animal. For example, having a horse lift its feet so it can have its hooves cleaned or taken care of, or asking a cat to go into a cat box so that it can get to the vet or in the car. The way trusted cooperation works is you can also use it to kind of do a fun thing together with your animal, like if assuming they want to do that. You wouldn't force them to do something you think would be fun. But if you both enjoy it, something like, running together in the woods or spinning or jumping up and down, whatever the action was that was mutually enjoyable. So the way that trusted cooperation works is that, again, you would reduce your mind, get really peaceful. And in that state, you can perceive more and you can listen with more clarity. And you're more sensitive to your animal's feelings. And at the same time, you're also supporting your animal to be peaceful so that they can attune to you and receive your communication. And that communication happens at a feeling level, that sort of energetic level. So you bring your mind down, bring your animal's mind down, out of thinking, strong thinking, and then you communicate through feeling what the action is that you'd like for your animal to perform. And then you listen to whether the animal, using mindful regard, the second part of creative reaction, you listen to them and you try to appreciate whether A, you've communicated clearly what you want, and B, whether they're able to do it. So if you haven't communicated clearly, you probably need to get more peaceful. But also it may be that they can't do it, for example, they're hurt or it's not an action that they want to do. And then you would respond to that. If they're able to do the action, you would say thank you. So, and that thank you might look like a reward, but the thank you in itself is enough. So if your animal did have a problem, you would get peaceful again and you would listen to them. And it's a sort of dance between being peaceful and listening. And then you would work out a way together. And what you're doing is you're communicating clearly in an intuitive way what you would like to happen. You're regarding their response or their reaction to that, calming their mind down. And when they do the action, you're going to express your gratitude. And animals would really want to please us and be in relationship with us if they can. Now, sometimes, you're asking an animal to do something that's just not in its competence. And so that's why we listen. So we're not trying to force or use fear to dominate our animals. We're really cooperating with them, thus trusted cooperation. And it can be really fun. And we're saying thank you for trusting us, thank you for helping us, thank you for being in a partnership with us. And it's a completely different way of engaging and exploring and enjoying our animals, working with their intelligence and their sensitivity rather than trying to override it to get our own agenda filled. I'm going to now talk about the consultation, the trust technique consultation. What does a trust technique consultation look like and what is the purpose of it? The purpose of the trust technique consultation is for me, the practitioner, to work with the human and your animal, the animal that the person's responsible for, and teach them creative reaction and support them to build this very deep connection. That's going to help them offer a completely different environment to their animal. And in that peaceful environment, a lot of new things are possible. Now, when I come to you, my intention is to help you and support you. That's it. And your animal. Our job is to go using our awareness of the Animal Welfare Act and the Veterinary Act, and to make sure that, first of all, the animal's basic needs are being met. Because obviously it's not going to be possible for an animal to be peaceful if it's hungry or it's in pain. So in that case, if that was the case, we would support a person to address those basic needs before we brought the trust technique in. Or we would refer them for appropriate help with a vet or something like that. So assuming that the basic needs are taken care of, the practitioner is going to teach that person skills that they need to deliver the present moment, and to do that at the animal's pace using the second part of creative reaction, which is mindful regard, which is listening. So we'll teach both that, teach the present moment and how to listen at the animal's pace. So what we're doing is we're helping the person to take responsibility for creating this really beautiful, peaceful environment for their animal. My main aim as a practitioner is to support. I'm not interested in judging how you have done it or making assessments of your relationship with your animal. I'm there to support you. I'm not concerned with the past. I want to know what your experiences are and I care about that, but I'm not trying to make assessments of what's happened in the past, or think about, have an idea about how you should be or how your animal should be. I'm here to be in the present with you and help recognizing that you've invited me into your home, and I want to honor your relationship with your animal. And we want to help you to develop different ways to respond and help break that overthinking cycle, which is at the bottom of 99% of problems. That overthinking that causes anxiety, health impacts and issues with well-being in the person and an animal. Which brings me to the bigger picture of the trust technique. So it's important to understand, when you're thinking about the future of the trust technique, the profundity of what the practice offers. We all know that when we're in a stress state, it's very hard to see what's right in front of us, because we're either worrying about something in the future or we're stuck in the feelings and distress of the past. And when we're in that state, we can't really respond to what's in front of us from a place of curiosity, because we're too busy. We're not really there. We're in our heads having a different experience. So when I'm come home from work, if I'm frustrated and someone needs something from me, then I'm much less likely to be able to respond contingently than if I'm calm and peaceful. I'll be like, oh, well, right now I can't, but I could do it in 10 minutes. If I come home and I'm in this state, it's like, oh, just another thing on my mind. And so then we generate more of that same feeling. Whereas if I can do it differently and say, oh, I really hear that, and could you just give me 10 minutes and then I'd really like to come back to you. Or whatever it is that's true in that moment when you are peaceful. Because when you're peaceful, you can really feel a different truth. And in that way, in that kind of different way of perceiving, when you're not anxious, you're accepting of how things are. We can respond really differently. And if you practice being peaceful and working with your mind over time in small ways regularly, you'll generate a different state of being. and you'll start to see relationships differently, you'll start to see the environment differently, you'll start to see different possibilities, and you create a kind of upcycle of connection and peace and trust. Instead of having relationships that are based on anxiety and trying to keep someone in a particular way, you have this soulful, more regarding way of being with people and animals, all beings. You start to see life as worthy for itself rather than that it's sort of fighting it, or trying to, or kind of being on your own in a kind of story in your head. And when you're in that peaceful state, you also pick up all sorts of information that you can't pick up when your mind's really busy. You can hear more, feel more, and you kind of get a different quality of experience. Though if I'm very high thinking, I have particular types of thoughts as well. Whereas if my mind is calm, I might have an insight or an awareness, something comes in that's like, oh, that's so simple and so easy to do. And there's a different flow to life. And in calming your mind, you also free your body from a huge amount of stress and tension. You start to release tension out of your body. When we're practicing with people and animals, we see twitching, yawning, all things that you see with other therapeutic practices as well, but it's very deep. And then your body goes into a naturally healing state, and it starts to do what a body that's in a healthy environment does, which is heal itself. Our bodies and our beings are actually naturally peaceful and naturally curious and naturally mutually interested in taking care of each other. And it allows a lot of trust, and it allows me to be myself if I'm peaceful. So the TT has the potential to help people with pain management, and we can also work with animal-assisted therapy, groups, all sorts of things. Because when a person who's had a lot of distress in their life they learn how to be present with an animal, and they learn how to be peaceful with an animal, it starts to change how they see all their relationships. And they can start to use those same skills in their relationships with people. In my life, creative reactions help me to let go of physical pain, release physical pain, chronic pain, old trauma, lots of ideas and judgments about myself. It's helped me to be way more present and see and address the challenges in my life in a really positive and enjoyable way. And it also creates this kind of space in my being where something that wouldn't necessarily occur to me in my kind of conditioned mind just can come in from outside. So I feel more in touch with a kind of guidance that is really just the product of peace of mind. So basically, the future of the TT is a shift in human consciousness and in our way of relating to other beings. And I don't think there's ever been a time where that's more relevant and more important. So I hope you enjoyed these videos, and do get in touch if you've got any questions or you'd like more information or you want to book a consultation. Okay, thank you. Thanks so much for watching.